So the other day at UFC gym, we were training, we learned some good stuff, and when it was over, it was time to roll, okay? Everybody's favorite part of jiu-jitsu class. Time to roll. So I rolled with the first guy, and that was cool. Then I decided to roll with the instructor because I just wanted to see how it felt to roll with this guy, and homeboy was legit. He was a badass. And of course, I went to get some water, and I'm getting ready to jump back in. I was tired. I'm not gonna lie. I'm out of shape. But I see another guy sitting down. I'm like, "Yo, man, you want to roll?" And he's like, "Nah, no, I'm good." I'm like, "Why, dude?" Homeboy was in shape. He was young and thin and whatever. So I'm like, "What's wrong with you?" Kind of a thing. And he's like, "Nah, man, it's only my second class, and I have no idea what I'm doing." I said, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, I did the kickboxing and like the that kind of stuff, and I decided to try jiu-jitsu, and this is only my second class, so I don't really feel comfortable rolling." And I'm like, "All right, man, cool. This is your prerogative." I said, "Do you want to just drill for a round, the stuff we just covered?" He's like, "Yeah, but I don't really understand it." And we had learned some half guard escapes, some half guard sweeps, some half guard submissions. Great freaking class. I loved it. I've got some knowledge of half guard, so I felt confident and comfortable, drilling. But this guy was brand spanking new. And so he decides to jump on the mat. We're going to drill some stuff. And so we start going back and forth. And he's like, "I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where to go from here. I don't know what to do or why this works or why I need to put my hand here or why I need to put my foot here." And so I saw a lot of myself in him because I remember feeling that way earlier in my jiu-jitsu journey. Don't get me wrong. I'm still a white belt, still learning, okay? But I had a working knowledge of half guard and how one could get to that position and how you might get out of that position and why it's an advantage and why it's a disadvantage. And so I'm kind of like trying to talk him through it, like, "Okay, man, now put your foot here, and once you get here, you can do stuff like this." And he's like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." So ultimately, what ended up happening is we started to play a game. This is kind of like the whole ecological approach, right? I'm like, "All right, bro, look, let's try this." When you get to this position, I kind of talk to him and talk him into a transition to side control. And he has no idea about side control. So I'm like, how do I explain this to somebody who's brand new? And the coach kind of comes over and I said, "Hey, coach, it's the second day, so we're just kind of trying to make a game out of the drills." And he's like, the coach starts kind of trying to walk him through side control. And he's got no idea of, weight distribution, whatever. It's a second class. And I just thought to myself, this is really effed up. Not that UFC gym is wrong or did anything wrong. It's just hard when you're new to something to jump in and to not have a working knowledge of this stuff, which goes back to my previous, video about wanting to learn and have like a systematic list-based approach to learning jiu-jitsu. And that doesn't really exist. I mean, it does. There's this thing called Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, right? Gracie Combatives, Gracie University. They have a wonderful curriculum and it flows and there's attendance sheets and punch cards and all this stuff. And I'm not going to lie. I tried it. I went to a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu class. I've actually gone to two of them. I went to one a few years ago. I had an Americana class. Learned a lot. Excellent teaching, excellent technique. Excellent instruction. I love the way they break things down. I love the way that everything is explained, but it lacked intensity. When I say it lacked intensity, what I mean is, I like the feeling of combat, of fighting, of getting in there and competing. Obviously, we're not trying to hurt each other, but I want to win. I want to be the better guy. I want to tap out the other guy, right? That's part of the game. When I really enjoy jiu-jitsu and I shut my brain off and I really feel into it, it's when I'm fully engaged, trying to submit the other guy or he's trying to submit me and I'm trying to survive, right? That part is amazing. And when you don't get that part, it felt incomplete, right? It felt like, it felt like going to a wedding ceremony and they don't kiss, right? The kiss is the end, right? It's like that's the end of the thing that makes everybody cheer and go, "Yay, congratulations, you did the darn thing." Or like, better yet, you go to a wedding, they don't even say "I do," okay? Like it's not even official. I felt like at the Gracie University School, I felt like I learned a lot, but it was really timid. It was really soft. And I think that's probably good because this guy, Ethan, I think it was Ethan, if he had gone to a Gracie school, he'd have had an introduction of all these things and an understanding of these different positions, right? If he went through the Gracie Combatives curriculum or whatever, he would know where he stands. So when he finally got to roll, he'd have a working knowledge. So maybe the Gracies have this whole thing figured out. I don't know, but I know that for me, coming from I don't say competitive because we didn't compete, but coming from a more intense, fight-based school with a lot of rolling, Gracie feels kind of incomplete. It feels kind of soft, a little unfinished. Now, I've never rolled with the Gracie black belt, ever. Not even a brown belt. I've never rolled with Gracie people at all. The guy I drilled with when I was there, I was obviously still a white belt. He was a blue belt, and when we got into these positions to drill the Americana, his weight distribution was trash. I just felt like he wasn't very good. And when you look at most opinions on Reddit or whatever about Gracie University students, they're not very good. And so while I love the structure and I love the introduction to jiu-jitsu kind of a sequence, if you're coming from a rolling school to go to Gracie University, I think it feels kind of hollow. But I haven't given up on him completely. I've met a couple of people at another Gracie University nearby where the guy came from a very well-respected lineage, and he seems to have a different kind of energy than the place I went to previous. And so I think I'm going to investigate a little bit further, because even though I'm further down the road than this guy Ethan was, I'm still feeling like I'm in the beginning of this whole thing and I need more of an introduction. I'm still feeling like I need a little more of the fundamentals, a little bit of the step-by-step. And so the story of Ethan, the legend of Ethan, is a guy who walks in off the street to a second class and he doesn't understand why he's doing anything. And it feels like, to quote Blade, it feels like you're ice skating uphill. If you walk in and you have no idea what you're doing and you're supposed to get in where you fit in, it's like going to a cooking class, right? If you could take a class from Gordon Ramsay, who's a freaking genius, right? He's a culinary legend, right? Bobby Flay, whomever you like. And you walk into Gordon Ramsay and he says, it's chaos. It's the dinner rush. And he's like, get on this line and start chopping these onions or whatever. You're going to try, you're going to get in where you fit in. You're going to be chopping the hell out of them onions. You might cut yourself. They might not look good. They might not be clean. They might not all be even, whatever, because you never learned to chop the daggone onions. If you went to culinary school and they said, okay, now here's how to chop the onions, you'd be ready by the time you got to Gordon Ramsay, right? So I guess that's kind of the conundrum I find myself in. The Gracie conundrum, right? It's like, I already know how to chop the onions pretty good. I think I know how to chop the onions. I feel pretty confident chopping the onions. I think I'm ready to hang with Gordon Ramsay, but nah, maybe not. Because maybe I know how to chop the onions, but I sure hell don't know how to fillet the fish or whatever the hell else you might have to do. I don't know. I don't have enough cooking analogies or illustrations. I guess my point is, for the Ethans of the world, I think we need a better starting point for jiu-jitsu. I don't think it's fair to take Ethan off the street, bring him into his second ever class, and teach him a bunch of half guard, sweeps and half guard submissions when he doesn't know what the hell half guard is. There's something crazy about the learning approach and the learning styles and the way that we teach jiu-jitsu. And I know that some people say, well, that's how you learn. You just get thrown in the water and you learn how to swim. And, you're the hammer, you're the nail. I was a nail for 3 years until I got good. I was too. I was the nail for 2 years. I'm still the nail in a lot of ways, but I'm better than most people. Ethan, when I go to UFC gym, I'm pretty good when it comes to, other white belts. Hell, I tap out some blue belts because I have some skills. I have some techniques. I have some ideas. I have some insights that most people don't. So I guess my point is I'm stuck in this little conundrum, this little, problem, this little confusion where it's like, how do we learn? Do we start at the beginning and do the ABCs? Or do we jump in and get where we fit in and kind of learn by doing? Do you take the swim lessons and learn, hanging on the edge of the pool and with the kickboard and all that stuff and the floaties? Do you just throw you in and you have to figure it out? I think most people are in love with the figure it out process because that's how they learned. But I think if we're honest with ourselves, nobody wants to be Ethan. I think everybody wants a chance to feel confident and to feel like you're building something linear in a linear way. How about that? That's the thought for right now. The conundrum of Gracie University, the legend of Ethan, if you will. How did you learn jiu-jitsu? How do you want to learn jiu-jitsu? Is there something else going on that you're interested in or that you want to talk about, or any comments you want to leave for me? Put them down below, and hopefully we'll talk a little bit more later.